Hello. I am in the autism chair under my bed in my tiny house. And this is what's up. I'm just gonna sit here like I'm Yoshi with my giant Rilakuma and my heating pad because I am a little chick in the small tin that is God's Winco chick bucket, and I just like to be incubated for warmth. So, if you're like, what the fuck is going on? Well, healing, baby. So, I wanted to just sit and talk about something that's really been hurting me emotionally, holding me back, and something that I think a lot of young founders and or just young people today experience, but I don't think we really talk about it. And so here's a controversial statement that I really don't want to be taken out of context. So I will ask that you guys listen to what I have to say and then form your opinions. But I really understand Elizabeth Holmes. And I hear the typing on the keyboard now. I hear people calling me a fraud, all these other things. And what I mean by that is I am turning 22 and I honestly feel like I'm so fucking old. I feel, and I texted this to Valkyrie, my co-founder. I told her, I feel like Peter Thiel is gonna take me out to a field and shoot me and then tell my cats that I moved to upstate New York. That's what I feel like. And I think these threads are interconnected. And here's why. First and foremost, I think the pressure on young people in Gen Z right now, at least from my vantage point, has been ticking up like an instant pot. And I also think in Silicon Valley, we're kind of just seeing this crazy death of the culty founder kind of stuff going on. And I also think, just for me personally, there's just been so much in my life that I've been struggling with, like autism wise, developmentally wise, that sets people up for this kind of like symptom, I would say. And I think I've seen it in a couple of other people. I'm definitely typecasting myself, but I want to talk about why I feel like a failure, even though I'm a CTO of one company and I'm the executive director of another, and I've been building apps since I was 13, I'm 22. I feel old. I feel, honestly, like I've run out of time and that I've lost. And I feel like a bunch of people have been really, like, putting a lot of faith in me, and I feel like I've let them down. And when I said that I understand Elizabeth Holmes, I do not mean in the sense that I wish to commit fraud, or that I think what she did was okay, or that I think it's even ever justified to do those things. I'm just saying I empathize with the kind of syndrome with the kind of symptoms that being a young person who feels like they really need to highly achieve in order to make up for XYZ factor, and the thought of not being able to get that success when you can't get it in any other traditional form drives you bonkers. Look at me. I'm in a chair with a giant bear and I'm 22 and I live in a jail trailer. That's what this shit does to you. This has cooked my brain more than any dare ad ever imagined that drugs could do. I'm gonna get out of the chair. Don't look. Okay, I'm out of the chair, and we're just gonna kind of like snuggle with Rilakuma, because I just need this to be a chill conversation. So, here we are. Um, and so my kind of background, and I just want to talk about this, and then I don't ever want to really bring it up again, because I think, although it's important to my life, I'm just not the same person that I was at the point when all of these things were happening. So I'm gonna bring it up for context, and then I'm gonna not really gonna get into it again. But it's deep Amanda lore, so I think we should all know. So I grew up in a really chaotic household. It was honestly like not very fun. Um I think as you can tell by what I'm gearing up to say. And my parents were both business people. Like they both owned and operated one business together. My mom was an accountant, my dad was an operations person. And like I just grew up so in love with space and so just like actually we're scooting over here. We're bringing in another bear. I just grew up like really like honestly feeling like shit. I did not have a great childhood. I had a lot of stuff happen. And for the most part, what I will condense it down to is I just felt terrible all the time. I didn't feel like there was really anybody or anything at home that cared if I came back. I like was just having overall like a terrible time in my childhood to the point where I would literally I'm not even gonna actually I'm just gonna shut the fuck up because I have a big mouth sometimes. So I'm shutting the fuck up, but I was really unhappy. I was terrible at school. I grew up in this really rural mountain town and I learned like nothing necessarily about friendship and nothing about healthy relationships. And then in middle school, I moved to like an actual town with like actual popular kids and like a social hierarchy. And I was fucking terrible at it. In my middle school years, I like pretty much got into a lot of issues with this one girl. I was constantly in the vice principal's office because my friends were so worried that I was gonna kill myself because I told them that I would. And I started going in there when I was like in the sixth grade. Um, I was pretty much like skipping all of my classes to go to robotics because I just like had no desire to do anything else but code and to not go home and just to like stay in the robotics club all the time. And I was just deeply miserable. And I was like, yeah, I was just not having a good time. And I didn't feel like accepted or really loved or like heard by anyone in my life until I met this one girl a little bit later down the line. And so when I learned about programming and when I learned about software, I was like, I finally don't feel like I'm a piece of shit because it finally feels like I'm building something that I'm in control of. And having control over my environment was not something that happened. Like, I was just in such an unstable and chaotic family home situation with a really rough divorce happening. And, like, the issues about how I was raised were like escalated to the point where like parents would call the police on one another. Like a parent would call a medical provider and say like, I don't want you to treat my child. Like it was just fucking terrible. And I had like no control over the situation. I was like not able to choose what I wore. I wasn't able to, like, have posters of gay people on my wall because they would get ripped down. I, like, wasn't, I just wasn't, like, allowed to be even a person. And I remember this. This was, like, this is, like, very niche Amanda lore. But my mom is a flat earther, and she's very into conspiracies, and she's very, like, anti-science, anti-space. And I remember when I grew up and I went from middle school to high school, I got to go meet the astronaut Scott Kelly, and I was so excited about it. I had watched the space landing from him being in space for a year in secret because that's what I had to do in my house. And I got into this, like, science convention. Or not the science convention, but I got to go to this event through my physics class because I wrote an essay and my teacher picked me. And I remember this was, like, after I started already developing apps and putting out apps in the App Store. I asked him, like, do you ever feel insignificant? Like, did space ever make you feel terrible about yourself? And he was like, haha, no, I'm an astronaut. I'm Scott Kelly. He didn't actually say that. I don't really remember what he said. But I got to take a selfie with him. And I just remember, like, I was so fucking happy for, like, the first time in a really long time. And I got into the car after my mom picked me up. I'm sorry for crying. This is just actually so hard. I got into the car after my mom picked me up. And I was like, Mom, like, I just met Scott Kelly. Like, I'm so, like, excited. And she was like, did you ask him how they faked the moon landings? Like, I am totally fucking serious that, like, I spent pretty much, like, my whole childhood with, like, one of my parents, the one who had, you know, primary care and custody of me because that's where I went to school. And I was just not encouraged to get into science. I wasn't encouraged to program. I wasn't encouraged to, like, really have any belief outside of what was taught in my home. And the person it made me was very deep, very deeply hurt. And it just kind of resulted in this situation where the person I was, like, growing up as a kid, like 11 to 15, I was like, I fucking hated her. I hated who I was. I was so unhappy. I was never able to, like, expressly control my situation. I wasn't, like, allowed to pick my food portions. I wasn't, like, allowed to, like, even have an interest in science and space, which is really not normal for all my friends, but it's something that I grew up with, and which is why we kind of, like, get into something a little bit later. But I just grew up feeling, like, fucking terrible about myself 24/7, as, like, every middle school kid did, right? And coding was just the one time where I was like, I don't want to kill myself. Like, it was just fucking amazing. Like, I just got to sit at night alone and just listen to music and code. And I would, like, fucking pretty much almost fail all my classes because that's all I wanted to do. It's just, like, sit and code and, like, not think about what was going on. And so, like, I made an app in 2015 when I was 13. I was just starting to be a freshman in high school. And it went a little viral on Tumblr. And then in 2017, I made another app. And that one went really viral on Tumblr. And I saw this opportunity in my life with what was happening to just get the fuck out of there. And, like, I'm pretty sure anybody in my situation would have done what I did. And I was like, I'm leaving high school. And at this point, I was I was going to so much therapy with one of my parents in custody. Like, so I lived with my mom during the weeks and then with my dad on the weekends. And at this point, my dad lived 3 hours away by bus in Orange County. And I would have to go to therapy when I was with my dad because my mom didn't believe in medical intervention. And I wasn't allowed to tell her that I was on therapy or taking antidepressants. Like, she would have taken them away from me. So I would just miss a day of school pretty much my entire sophomore year. Like, I would miss every Monday because I was always in therapy with other traumatized kids. Like, that's what I spent my time doing. And I was just like, I fucking hate it here. And when I got the chance, I was like, I'm getting homeschooled. And then when my apps got a little bit of traction and it looked like I had funding, I was like, fuck it. Like, I'm leaving high school. And so I did leave high school in 2018. I was 16 years old and I was starting a nonprofit tech company at the time because I was crazy. And I was like, this is gonna be so much fun. Like, not even realizing that I was like out of the frying pan into the goddamn Silicon Valley fire. And so, like, to my point today, because of my crazy life circumstances, I became a mental health advocate when I was like 16. I did a couple of talks. I got a couple of press pieces written about me. I got to go on the public speaking circuit and I was like filed away as like a little youth activist, like mental health girl. Which I still have a reputation for today. I still get emails and calls asking me to like come speak at conferences, and sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But it was pretty much like my whole life and all of my programming was like, how do you help people like in the hardest moments of their life? And so, yeah, it was just a lot of stress really early on. And I went from being this really abused kid who wasn't even allowed to decide if I was able to have sweet and sour chicken at a Chinese restaurant because it had too much breading, so it was too fattening for me. I went from that level of control over my life to I am a multi attempt suicide survivor. Because and I actually think this is pretty funny. I think if my mom actually was into medicine, that I would have died because I would have had access to stronger shit. And I think it's really funny that my mom's like big like anti-vaxxer medical aversion was a huge reason and why I didn't get treatment for that, but it's also probably one of the only reasons why I'm not dead was because you can't really overdose on homeopathic like fucking like frankincense drops, but that's fine. So, I'm sorry, this is really dark, but I'm like coping with it and I'm chill. I just don't want you guys to be freaked out. I'm just kind of like reminiscing from my perspective. So, when I got to the position where it seemed like people were finally listening to me, they finally cared about what was going on at home because I took everything that I struggled with and I literally put it into apps. Like, that was my whole thing, is like I would just go through like the most terrible shit at home and then I would be like, I just want to program this. Like, and that's how I'm going to cope with it, which in hindsight is like a really amazing skill to have, but also it fucking sucked. Honestly, like, yay for, oh my god, my mascara's everywhere. It's like, yay for control, but I think the issue was, when I started becoming, like, this young person kind of recognized for my work, I think the pressure to save the world drove me insane, honestly, and I would just get all these people, both in my messages and then also in my, like, emails and like at my talks being like, oh my god, like, my daughter's really going through anxiety, or like, I'm struggling with an eating disorder too. And I don't want to say that I don't want those people to reach out to me. I loved those conversations. I think they were one of my like most treasured parts of being a mental health advocate, and I am so like unbelievably grateful that people shared those parts of their life with me, because that means so much to me, and it means they really trusted me, and it means that they saw me as someone that they could confide in, and that means the world to me. So I don't want it to come across like I'm shaming the people who reached out to me when they needed it, but the result was, um I just felt like I had to save the world so much, and I just got all of this publicity, and I was just like this really terrified girl who basically just narrowly escaped this really terrible part of my life. And then these adults were just like, you have to save the world. Like, it's your generation that's gonna do it. And this was when March for Our Lives was also starting to happen, and there was more of a focus on, like, youth activists and, like, young people are gonna do it. And I remember I was at a speaking event, and this, I don't mean this to sound like a brag, I'm trying to illustrate, like, how much pressure it places on someone and how it can make you like literally pop like a fucking balloon. But I was at a speaking event with Amal Clooney, and we were both keynote speakers, and I went up and I got to do my speech before she did. And then she went up and she was part of a panel, and she was like, some of the amazing young people that we've seen here tonight. And then we met backstage, and she was like, that amazing young person was you. I was talking about you, because you're gonna change the world. And I was like, Amal Clooney, why are you putting this into my hand? I'm not ready, Amal Clooney. I'm not ready. I'm actually gonna look that up to see if it's on Getty Images, because if it is, I think that's gonna be really funny. I was reading the Shoe Dog memoir. I'm so far not necessarily enjoying it. I feel like I feel like I need to source proof, because I feel like if I don't, oh my god, why are all of these people talking about me? Please leave me alone. Um, where was I? Where is Amal? Yeah, so I was keynoting at the same conference as Amal Clooney, and I feel like what? Are we not in here together? I guess there's me. Can I view all? Okay. I feel like this is... Bro, why do I look like a trust fund baby on that podium? I look like a trust fund baby. Honestly, all these people were so nice. Where did it go? Dude, I kind of want to punch myself in the face for that half up, half down hairstyle. I think that's terrible. Okay, never mind. It makes me look like a liar, but there was a photo of us. I promise. But I think that's a pretty good example of what I mean when I say the pressure from everyone after getting out of this terrible situation where, like, I cut my mom out of my life when I moved out at 17. I didn't have my dad in the same state. And honestly, we didn't have a good relationship at that point, and we were fighting all the time. So I really had no like family. I had lost a lot of my friends because I was homeschooled, and then I went to high school because I was high schooled and then homeschooled, and I just never I just socially fucking developmentally lost it. Like, my developmental trajectory is just like I feel 80 years old and also 40 at the same time. Like, I just feel... When Katy Perry was like, "Do you ever feel like a plastic bag?" I was like, yeah, girl, how did you know? But long story short, that's like the level of pressure that I was experiencing at 15, 16. I was just going to these conferences, and the smartest people in the world are telling me like it's your time, like it's your thing. And I really struggled to get funding. I really struggled to get people to believe in me. I had so many half donors and I had so many people who were like, maybe. And then it just never materialized. And I think that's part of business. And in the current context, I don't take it personally anymore. I'm much more resilient to that. I've set up my life in a way where I'm just like very financially stable. But when you're 17 and you've decided that you're building this world changing nonprofit and you have no home to go back to, and you have no one seemingly on your side, like in your personal life, besides like a boyfriend who kind of treats you like shit, you're just like, there's no other option. And so I did not cheat or lie or steal to get funding. And I did not like do anything negative. In fact, I've been too probably ethically stringent with Astra, and I think that's one of the reasons why we've been really slow growing is because I just have like very specific and exacting moral standards that I want to build software to for our users, and I'm unflinching and I'm unforgiving in that. And I've acquiesced to the point where I'm like, I'm okay if this is a project that takes decades of my life to do correctly, because that's what I think should happen. But also, more so, what I'm trying to illustrate is the amount of pressure that young startup founders get put in, especially Gen Z ones in the social sphere space, especially youth activists. Like, pressure cooker. Like, I totally understand why someone would defraud or fake their way into that if they thought that they, like, if they thought that they needed to. I totally understand that. I wouldn't do that myself. I have been trying really hard, and this is some context for where I'm at now. I left mental health advocacy in 2021 because I got an autism diagnosis after years of therapy, and I was like, it's just not the best place for me. It's not really healthy, and it's not what I want to do. And what I would rather do is build a legacy software company. Not like legacy in terms of like, oh, they're so old and like all the code bases are whack, but I mean like a code base that a code base and a product lineup and a company that withstands the test of time and withstands trends and withstands all of these other constant variants in the industry to create something that has just never, has no parallel. It's not even supposed to be a company. It's supposed to be like my fucking magnum opus. Like, I just want to build the most beautiful, usable, pastoral software that I possibly can to help people. And like, that's what I want to get out of my life. And like, you know, yeehawing off social media and like no longer really doing any of these things. But so I wanted to talk about this because there's so many of these like developmental milestones that I didn't get to get. And I think when you're a young founder and when you feel so fucking different and so fucking weird from everybody else, you use these milestones that other founders have to orient yourself with something that you can have developmentally. And so for young founders, that's like Forbes 30 under 30. That's like the Teal Fellowship. That's like getting a check from like 1517 or Founders Fund or like AZ16 or getting into Y Combinator. Like any of these like legacy Silicon Valley things, like if you can get in when you're young, you just are it. Like you're not like set for life, but that's like the founder equivalent of getting into a Stanford. It's like doing this shit, especially in a circumstance where it's like social change or activism, like it literally feels like every day you're just bashing your head against a brick wall, and these little achievements are the only things that you collect to make the pain, like, somewhat manageable. And it's like the only thing that you get to bring home, and you're like, hey parents, I know I've really disappointed you, and I know that, like, you don't understand my career path, and I know that, like, I don't have any friends because I don't have time to have friends, but, like, look at my little achievements. Look at my LinkedIn recommendations, you know? So, why do I feel like a failure? Even though at 21, I'm CTO of one natural disaster startup, and I'm still the executive director of a nonprofit that I've been running since 2018, since I was 16. And it's because I think for me, like, I've missed all of those developmental milestones, both like on the founder side, in terms of like, I just couldn't pull funding. I just didn't like, personally, I found the whole thing to be quite vapid because I was like, why would I go around and beg people for money to build this thing when I can just build this thing to my specifications without like getting them engaged? So, that's my bad. I'm just um quite difficult as a person. So, I missed those, and then I missed all of my high school milestones. I didn't get to graduate. I have a CHESP. I don't even have a GED. All of my friends just graduated college, and I feel like I didn't even get that. Like, I didn't even get student loan debt. I've been, like, it's not that my career has been negative. Like, I've worked for some huge startup names in the past couple of years. Like, I got to do a Today at Apple lab. Like, Apple called me to build a Today at Apple lab with me. Like, I got to, last year, I got to advise for PBS on how to help them build a website for their Ken Burns documentary because they were making a documentary about youth mental illness and they wanted my opinion on how to do that correctly. Like, those are things that I take so incredibly seriously, and it means so much to me. Like, it literally, I cannot describe to you how honored I am or how hard I try to work to keep the trust of people who put these really important projects into my hands. Like, it's like my reputation is the only thing I have, and that's why I actually don't relate to Elizabeth Holmes that much. But I do just want to, like, say it's a fucking pressure cooker. It's a pressure cooker. And I'm 21. I'm turning 22 in like 6 days. And I'm just like, oh my god, I failed. I'm gonna age out of the Teal Fellowship. I'm never gonna get on Forbes 30 under 30, even though I was recommended that one time by my really nice friend Nick. I'm just like not gonna get into Y Combinator because Fora applied, we got rejected. And I just feel like I just feel terrible. And there's no reason why I should. It's not like I don't, like, work hard. It's not like I haven't literally been programming since I was 10. It's not like I, like, it's not like I, it's not like I don't try. And yet, I just feel, even like that, like a failure. And I wanted to have this conversation because we're seeing so many young founders, or just founders in general, just like straight up defraud people. And like, yeah, that's definitely gonna happen. And like, I don't even know how to describe it, besides it feels like all of your hopes and dreams are being put into a NutriBullet, and you're just hoping whatever comes out at the end is gonna be drinkable. Like, that's what it is. And especially with all of this, like, tech industry, like, layoff shit, like, ZERP phenomenon shit, like, VCs rationing all their money unless you're a generative AI startup shit, it feels like the dream is not fully dead, but it doesn't feel alive for me, personally. So, I don't know. I think maybe there's this pattern of founder, and I've seen it in a couple of people, which is why I'm making a video about it. No call outs if this applies to you. But I feel like there's a pattern of people who are smart or talented or creative or just very high, you know, mental output, not in a good or bad way, just like they have a lot of thoughts, they have a lot of things, they like a lot of stuff captivates their attention, and they don't feel empowered at home and they don't feel empowered at school, and they realize that they can get power by building stuff or by being in the right rooms with the right people, and it just becomes so like emotionally controlling to you if that's the only thing that you have that you want. And that leads people to do a lot of stupid shit. It's led me to do a lot of stupid shit. Um it it really just changes everything. Um so yeah, so I wrote all of this. I meant to kind of go into it, and I guess what I want to end this on is like, yeah, I feel like I failed, but also it's like, I don't fucking care. It's like, I kind of knew this industry was like not really for me, anyways. Like, I'm an autistic girl who has no desire to create shareholder value, if I'm being honest. Like, I just want to build charity apps until I die. And like, I don't want to pay attention to anybody's rules. Like, I just want to build my own very strong vision for what a utility of care and what building that in software like could even look like. And it just plagues my dreams. Like, I'm a fucking witch from the 17th century having visions. Like, I just think about this stupid fucking like this stupid fucking network of software that just like works across all of these different things that someone will experience within their life to come and create a comprehensive solution for them, like caseworkers are supposed to do within the social like benefit system, but they actually don't. Like, it would just be so easy to build something like that in software. um and I really want to do that, even though there's no benefit, and I will be poor and broke forever, just like Andrew Garfield in Tick Tick Boom, and then he died. Ugh, I'm not making myself feel better, but I'm trying to redefine success as just like building, as just getting out and doing stuff, as like just waking up and like doing anything to work towards my dreams. And I really have done a lot in that aspect. I'm in a jail trailer right now, which is not, in fact, owned by a jail. It's owned by me. I got a Craigslist trailer for $750 and I renovated it over a year and a half. It's a vintage sheriff's office and I turned it into my tiny house and I'm living in it because I figured it would give me the long-term housing stability that I need, and it would also allow me to save up enough money to bootstrap Astra with less jobs, and I was right. So I guess I got that going for me. I live in a jail trailer and I have a giant Rilakuma bear who is my main feedback tester, and then I have Kurilakuma and um just the sheer audacity of man in my heart. So yeah, I don't know. I probably have a lot of thinking to do and a lot of self-forgiveness to do. Pumpkin, can I please make a YouTube video? You know how children are. Do you want to say hi? Or do you want to just like be a whore? That's what I thought. Doing group therapy. You don't even... Whatever. Children are so terrible to you. So now you want to hang out? Okay. But long story short, I'm just trying to refocus on success as the freedom to do what I want to do, as the ability for me to build stuff that I care about, um, and just like the freedom to, I don't know, build the future that I want to have, even though that sounds so fucking cliche and dumb. I just want to wake up and build something that doesn't make me feel like a piece of shit about my life and my place in the world. Like every day for the rest of my life. So I don't know what that looks like. But I'm trying to start. Pumpkin, am I doing good? Do you love me? Please don't pull that down. I got it from IKEA and I spent so much time on it. Do you think I'm a good leader? Do you think that my strategic decisions have merit? It's such a tough crowd in here. It's really so tough. So, I don't know. Self-acceptance, self-love, removing our self-worth from... What are you doing? Buddy, out. Pumpkin, out. Pumpkin, out. Thank you. Sorry you had to see that. Just removing my self-worth from whatever the fucking Forbes 30 under 30, like, mindset, grindset, young founder is. Like, not that that's terrible, but it's just not for me. And I think I need to stop holding myself to that timeline, and I need to stop looking at other people who obviously have never experienced life circumstances that I have and telling myself that it's gonna be the same for me, because it's not. And that's okay. And I should just focus on really just trying to support my friends and trying to love my friends and trying to care about my friends in this new world, as opposed to like anything else, because caring about your friends is all that matters. And I don't know a lot, but my friend Devin, she knows that I've been having trouble sleeping and that I've been having trouble eating. And so she made dinner for me last night and she told me to go exercise a lot so that I slept better. And I just felt really cared about. And I want to make other people feel that way through my software. And I want people to look at what I build and to feel like they're loved and to feel like they have someone watching out for them. And that's what success is to me. So, yeah. I don't know, maybe this was just like 2 hours of like Amanda crying about what kind of software she wants to build, because I think it's pretty obvious that I'm quite sensitive, like a little flash dried chicken nugget. So why are you eating a cord in this time? Thank you, Maki. So I don't know. I need to have love for myself and forgiveness for myself, and also the strength to carry my dreams into the world, even if I feel like other people don't want them, because I want them. And me wanting them is reason enough to carry them, and nobody else has to validate that for me. So, I don't know. We out. Good night.